Hi everyone, welcome to Grow Roots. This is Shannon and welcome to my September 2025 front garden tour. Wow, we've made it, y'all. We've made it to, it's now mid-September, and the front garden, honestly, I think compared to last September and some years prior, it's actually looking really amazing. We've actually had a really blessed summer. We've had one of the coolest summers that we've had in a really long time, and I think my front garden definitely reflects that. Normally we are in 100-degree weather for months at a time in the summertime, but we had a handful of 100-degree days, and that was about it. Most of the time it was in the late, mid to late 90s. We had a really big cool down in the beginning of September, which was really nice, but now we're back in mid 90s in mid-September again. That's okay. Our nighttime temperatures are finally going down some of the nights into the 60s, so I'm super happy about that. So let's just get started with the front garden. I'm gonna start here this time. I don't usually start here, but I just feel like starting a different spot this time. If you are new to my channel, I'm in North Texas on the border of zone 8A, 8B. And so we really struggle in the summertime, y'all. And usually by now, everything is so tired and pests have taken control. And there are areas of plants definitely that are so tired and pests have taken control. And I'm going to show you all of that. But for the most part, it really hasn't been too bad. So this is my Carolina Sapphire Cypress. It's a three-ball topiary, and it has grown tremendously since I planted it about this time last year. It's about 11 months ago that I planted it in there, and it's doing really well. The only problem is I am noticing that our winds come in from this direction, and so our winds have kind of made that a little bit, not straight up and down. And so I've tried a stake that I have. It's not plastic. I guess it's plastic, but I'm going to need a really strong stake to stake that up. The one that I have is not working. Underneath that, I do have some variegated liriope in there, but this year I planted some ageratum and I planted some zinnias, and they have kind of taken over this area, as well as this black-eyed Susan vine that's growing all the way up here. I did not plant that this year. This is voluntary from all of the seeds from last year. And because of the cooler nights, I anticipate that this will start blooming very soon. I have another black-eyed Susan vine in my backyard that has started blooming. And I think I had one bloom down here at some point. It kind of fizzled up in the heat today. But black-eyed Susan vine for us here in Texas, because our nights don't get cool, they don't bloom in the summer. They bloom in the spring and they bloom in the fall. And so this guy's getting ready to bloom like crazy. It's going to be gorgeous. And then I have a row, just a hedge of baby gem boxwoods, and they are doing really good. I also had a volunteer vinca show up right there. I have cascading vinca that was growing in a couple of my containers, but that doesn't look like cascading vinca. So to me, that might be a volunteer from last year that seeded itself. So we'll see. Then coming over to my main garden, I do have some containers right here. I'm going to cover those in my container garden tour. So I'm just going to hop right in. I have a little goose that sets the corner of my front garden. I just love it. Her name is Silly Goose. And okay, let's start with the plants that we have as the border. This year I did true dwarf zinnias. This is a mix of double hot cherry, profusion zinnias, which that's what these are. And then there are some pinwheels and some Zaharas zinnias that are in here. And they are starting to look tired. From a distance, they still look amazing. But when you get up close, there's a couple things going on. They're getting all, the leaves in the very center are dying off. They're getting a little leggy and pushing forward. And then I've got a huge whitefly infestation in this garden bed. The culprit is the sunshine ligustrum, and I thought I had a grip on it with one of the pest control applications that I used, but it just wasn't enough. So now I'm going on to bigger guns, and I'm doing the Bayer 3-in-1 like protect and feed for 12 months, 12-month protection. It's a systemic it's a systemic insecticide, and it's specific for whitefly. So unfortunately, I only grabbed one of those, and I applied it tonight, and it wasn't enough to treat all 6 of these. So I have to quick order one or pick one up tomorrow and finish that application. But I don't know if you can see it, but whiteflies are flying everywhere. And the zinnias are slightly affected by that. Not as affected as they could be. Coming over here, I have some May night salvia over here, and it is majorly affected by whitefly. Unfortunately, I don't know if you can see them flying around. They're everywhere. I'm just kind of so frustrated with this that I've been working all summer long to eradicate these whitefly, and they just keep coming back with a vengeance. It's just frustrating. But anyway, I have some state fair zinnias that are growing right here. I had a plumbago that I popped in right there, but it's kind of just getting overtaken by the zinnias right now. And of course, I talked about my row of, there's 5 of them, sunshine ligustrum, and I love this shrub. It is the most amazing shrub, and I've had it for, gosh, I think I've had it since 2020 or maybe even 2019, and it's been an amazing shrub for me. Evergreen, it has this look all through winter, just gets a little bit of winter nip, but that's it. And just an amazing shrub. However, you know, in its 4th or 5th year, at least 5th year, now I've got a whitefly infestation, and I've really, I don't know. I'm going to cut this guy probably way back in late winter, and then hope that that Bayer 12-month application works. But I will say, do not use that Bayer systemic insecticide unless it's a non-flowering plant or shrub, and you can keep it away. For the most part, this is a whole foot. These flowers right here are growing a whole foot to 2 feet away from the root or the stem of these. So I have enough confidence that these guys will not take in that systemic insecticide. But if I did think that, I would not use it. I'd probably even just scrap the shrubs, to be honest. Sometimes you just have to do that. But I'm not willing to kill the pollinators to make that sacrifice. But so far, lots of pollinators. They're not affected. They're totally fine. In case you're wondering what this is back here, it's a magical display of gomphrena. I have one Gomphrena globosa there, and I have one Gomphrena globosa there. And it's even coming up, like mixing in with the zinnias over here. It's unbelievable. I've never used it for that back portion before. My only concern is I do have some perennials back there that I'm worrying that it kind of choked it all up. But I love that. It's absolutely gorgeous. Love Gomphrena globosa. And one more thing about it, it literally has no signs of pests. It has whitefly sitting on the leaves, and like it doesn't show really any signs of it at all. So that's amazing. Gomphrena globosa is heat tolerant, drought tolerant, pest and disease resistant. I don't find powdery mildew, fungus, anything on it. I've grown it quite a bit, and it's just amazing. Rockstar plant, absolute rockstar. Unfortunately, it's not a perennial. It is an annual, but really I will grow that every year somewhere. Yeah, somewhere in here there's more May night salvia. I have lemon balsedum down there that's getting swallowed up. That May night salvia is blooming there. It's just all kind of become a hodgepodge of whatever survival of the fittest, right? But anyway, coming back to the border has worked out really, really well this year. I'm so happy with it, as I am with the Gomphrena globosa. I do have a zinnia poking its head through there. I think that's one of my Queen Lime zinnias. That one is gorgeous. Look at that. And then, I don't know if you can see that, but there is a black-eyed Susan vine that's flowering down there. So in this bed, I do also have black-eyed Susan that seeded itself because I had a vine that was going up there. And it's kind of trying to choke out some of these other plants. I've been trying to pull it wherever I could, but I imagine this one is acting more like a ground cover because it can't climb on anything, and so it's just kind of you know, going to be a flowering yellow ground cover, I think, in here. Well, okay, that's fine. Over here, I have another Azuratum Leda. Azuratum Leda has been another kind of rock star, but it's definitely starting to be affected by the whitefly a little bit, I think. But it's grown really well through all of this heat. I have a little lamb there that's covered in a variegated vinca vine. I use variegated vinca as a ground cover over here, and it works out really, really well. This is kind of a more shaded area, and so I have a juga, I have variegated vinca. I pulled out some Dusty Miller. I had quite a bit, so that's why you see some holes. It started coming over here and then causing the ajuga. I have burgundy low ajuga growing right there, and it was starting to die off. So I was like, no, let's not do any more of that. So I cut off the Dusty Miller, and I left just that one there. And then coming over here, let's talk about this real quick. Actually, I have a Vitex tree. It is kind of in flower. Again, this is its third flowering, I guess it's third flower of the season. So it's looking awesome. The bees absolutely love it. It can be a pretty vigorous tree though. And so last year it was trying to come over all of my garden, and I cut off a huge branch. And so this area of my hydrangea that's growing underneath it was a little bit affected because the sun is coming up and shining in there. So it's getting morning sun and all the way into the afternoon, and it's not loving that. And then anyway, trimming up that Vitex definitely affected the hydrangea that was underneath it. So let's take a look at that though. It's gorgeous. It is an endless summer hydrangea. And if you're new to my channel, I talk about this all the time, but I leave my blooms on. See, so this one is a bloom from the spring that I have left on the plant. And this year there are a little bit of them that have kind of died off, but that one didn't. And so what happens, ooh, there's a leaf-footed bug. That's a bad bug. I don't want you in there. Anyway, but it's on the most beautiful bloom. This is what happens when you leave the blooms on your endless summer hydrangeas anyway. In Texas, my experience is that they turn pink, and then as we head later into the fall, they will turn magenta. And it's just the most beautiful thing. Now, there have been some blooms that have died, and I'll prune those back just to the very top of the bloom head. I'm not going to take any part of that branch off because that it's starting to set its buds for next year. But the endless summer hydrangeas also continue to bloom very sporadically through the summer. And so there's new blooms, there's old blooms, and they're all coming together and just looking fabulous. I just love it so much. But yeah, here's one of those aged blooms that is beautiful. And it's just going to turn deeper, darker purple as the season progresses. So, and there's just whitefly flying all over it. It doesn't seem to be affected by whitefly. I do have a little bit of bacterial disease happening on these leaves. It's not going to harm the plant, really. There's a lot of this plant that's doing just fine. What will happen though is when the leaves come off, if they're spotted like this, I will make sure to throw them in the trash rather than use them as mulch, because we don't want that bacterial disease to transfer into next year. But underneath that, you can see I have some variegated vinca popping up under there. So really quite beautiful. I'm so thrilled with how the front garden is looking this late summer heading into fall. Just absolutely beautiful. Again, I have lots of containers up there. I have some more hydrangeas, but stay tuned for my container garden tour, and I will talk about those a little bit more on that. And then I can't forget, I will include these containers because I consider them part of my front garden. Because they're such a huge part of the curb appeal that my home has. So these two containers right here are just spectacular this year. Whoa, KB. Look at that view. I just absolutely love my front yard this year. Our grass, by the way, is Palisades zoysia. My husband is the caretaker of our grass. I am the caretaker of the garden. He's the caretaker of the grass. I've talked to a lot of you who have the same arrangement, but he does a beautiful job on our grass, and so it's doing really well. But talk about this. This is Mystic Spire's blue salvia, and it's just the most spectacular plant, y'all. This actually overwintered from last year. I'm not going to continue doing that though. I'm going to start fresh. And I haven't decided if I'm actually going to do Mystic Spires in here last year. As amazing as it is, the bees, I mean, in the middle of the day, each one of these plants probably has between 20 and 40 of these sweet, sweet little bumblebees. They're like, don't get too close. They're super sweet. We've never been stung, but I do have people who park their cars on this curb, and then they're scared of getting out because of the bees. And then people walking on the sidewalk also get a little bit taken aback, you know, being so close to the bees. But they just absolutely love this plant. Number one, probably bee attractant plant that I have ever grown, and it is heat tolerant, drought tolerant. The pests don't affect it. Like, it's just a superstar plant. It hardy down to zone 8. In a container, it's very marginal to survive our winter. It did last winter, but I'm gonna go ahead and take these out, trying to figure out where I could locate them or a friend that might want them. I do want to keep at least one of them, and I think I have a location, but I will be taking these out in about a month, and getting these containers completely emptied out so that I can start with my winter things, and that's going to be very exciting. I can't wait to show you what I have planned, but these will be emptied out, and then I will buy new Mystic Spire salvia next spring or do something different. I haven't decided that yet either. But another great companion plant to Mystic Spires, if you're growing it in a container, is Cascading Vinca. Both of them have been pretty vigorous, and so the Cascading Vinca has kind of kept up with the vigor of the Mystic Spires, and it trails. So they have different habits, which is very good. If it had an upright habit, it would be competing with the Mystic Spires and would probably lose. But since it's trailing down the side of the pot, it's absolutely perfect for this specific use, and I think it has looked absolutely gorgeous. This one, the Mystic Spires, for whatever reason, wasn't like trying to grow forward, and so the Vinca had a lot better chance to fill in there, as you can see. I also have, and it looks terrible, y'all, but I do have Sparkling Amethyst Superbina is in there, but yeah, it's probably infested with whitefly. I'm not really super certain, but something's definite, and I've cut it back to see if I could control that, and it's not having it, so it's coming out as well. But absolutely love those plants, and I'm loving how my garden is looking in mid-September after the hot Texas summer. Looking pretty darn good, and I'm inspired by what I want to grow next year. So thank you all so much for watching my front garden tour in September. I hope that if you haven't subscribed to my channel and you liked what you saw, please subscribe, comment down below, tell me the challenges you faced this summer with your garden or what you're growing. Are you growing some of these and having success? Let me know. I would love to hear all about it, and I just thank you all so very much for watching. Bye-bye, everybody.